All right, we are live. Let me see if I can find my own stream here on my phone so I can watch the chat. I pulled out all the stops for you guys tonight. This is the first time that I am going live on my new Fancy Boy camera with my Fancy Boy microphone with a Fancy Boy light. Good. Let's see here. Abraham, how are you doing? So, we've got some things to talk about tonight, guys. We've got the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors knife news. We've got the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors sling news. We've got a little bit of gear information. And I want to talk about some Easter eggs that I dropped recently in a video. We want to talk about the January 6th Capital Tour and whatever the crap else you guys want to talk about, I reckon, like usual. By popular request, we are rocking the Alpen Boonie and the cool pure white patch from Stand Strong Art. That is the Tree of Liberty. So, looks like I've got chats going on here. Papa Bear Knives, what's up? Jade, what's going on? George Orwell, how are you doing? I need to figure out why I can't see the chat here. There it is. Brandon Davis, how are you doing, buddy? So while we're waiting for a couple of people to get in here, did you guys see the Easter eggs that I left in the workshop video? Let me know. I'm excited to hear if you watched that video and if you noticed anything interesting. I need to flip my screen around so that I look at the camera, not at the screen. And now I just have to make sure I don't look at the laptop that's behind it. What's up, A-dubs? So, if through the duration of this video, I'll mention a couple times for the people that just get to the stream. If you watched the Work Sharp Product of the Year video and noticed my Easter eggs, let me know. Hey, Dad, how you doing? Yes, the eggs will be worth it. Okay, guys, and if you didn't know, an Easter egg is something that is hidden in a video that is conveying something that is coming in the future or a point that isn't just displayed out in the open. It's a lot of fun. Let's see here, Droop P. There's white people in Texas being denied COVID treatment because minority groups are put above them, and Lying Ted is saying, let's go, Brandon. Well, white people should be glad that they're being denied COVID treatment. You're welcome. But, I never liked the term Lion Ted, but he's earned it now at this point. Jade noticed the books. Good on you, buddy. So the first thing that I want to mention, we have another collaboration coming up, again with Bear Forest Knives, of the Adventure Cub. This is my model here. Get into focus. All of these knives will come with absolutely beautiful handle materials, roughly based on the shape of the Adventure Craft, but these not only are have a unique shape from Bear Forest Knives based on the Adventure Craft, but that is a true zero ground Scandi. No micro bevel there. They are incredible slicers. Now, these are not what I would consider a pure adventure knife. They get the name adventure because they're based on the Adventure Craft. However, being a zero ground Scandi grind edge, they are a carving and woodworking knife. But the thing is, being that they're so small, they can be added to your adventure kit with almost no weight penalty. I think you guys are really going to like this. We have some wild woods. We've got burls. We've got colored burls. We've got desert ironwood. We've got green burlap. They're going to be really cool. So once those come in, I'm going to give everybody about a week's notice for when they drop. There's going to be 11 of them available. And if there is a handle material and color that you really want, I have to suggest that you pounce on it immediately, like set an alarm for 5 or 10 minutes early. And because I'm going to let you know exactly the minute that they're going to go live and get them, because they might not last long, especially if you want a specific handle color. Let's see here. Papa Bear, the bug assaults are legit. We like killing flies in our house with them as well in the summer. Didn't miss much, just showing off the adventure cubs. Thanks, Jade. Okay, so that is, and again, guys, check out Bear Forest Knives. He is the maker, and I will be selling these as they are based on my design, and that's what's going to work for him. But he does, he does his work by hand, and they're nice. They're really nice. The next thing is Beach and Tactical. Crap. I'm not supposed to show guns in a live feed, so now this live feed will not upload, which is very disappointing. It's too late now. So this is the new V2 Beach and Tactical Speed Sling, if you hadn't seen it before. And one of the new things that we're doing, if requested, is this pattern. This is 2 colors of paracord, which is a $5 upcharge. That's not going to change, but the striped pattern is new. And I did it to match the vertical camouflage of the Riptile Sabertooth camo that I have here. But I really like it, and this webbing is Relv Camo Copperhead. The new motto is "Let the dead bury the dead." Hard to read there. But I think that the Relv Copperhead goes well with this camo, and I am a fan. The Baldricks will be the same way. And we're going to have some new products as well. We're going to be bringing back the belt lanyard with some slight modifications, and probably going to release at least one new rifle sling design. I might release the sled pulling harness design, or strap, I should say, because it's really not a harness. And the last thing I'll say about that is the Finish MO5 camo webbing and the M81 camo webbing. I pre-cut all of those so to make sure that I wouldn't oversell. So those will still be sold as the old Speed Sling design. There's nothing wrong with the old Speed Sling design. Still same warranty and everything else. It's just not as easy for me to make, nor is it as easy for me to repair. No big deal. So let's see. I think that's all of that. Okay, so I made myself a list of topics for today, and I think I didn't bring it, so that doesn't really do me a whole lot of good here. Let's talk about, switch back to Exodus knife and tool really quick. If you're not familiar, this is the Adventure Craft. So side by side between the Adventure Craft and the Adventure Cub, you might see the similarities here as well as the differences. Now, why haven't I done my own production Scandi grind yet? And why have I rarely reviewed them? A 0 gram Scandi knife is really nice for carving and for slicing and all kinds of stuff, but the edge is not as strong. The micro bevel vastly increases the strength behind the edge. And so if a single knife were to be your primary blade, for me, the answer is not a Scandi grind. But if I'm just going to be carving, it's fantastic. And just because we're talking about the knives here, this is the Jackalope. Now, as far as my knives go, the rest of the pre-ordered knives should be available very shortly, probably end of January. And then hopefully we'll have another production run. I would hope to have some production knives to sell to you guys in February. Currently, I do actually have a couple to sell. I'm not sure how I'll do it. They are in orange canvas micarta, the micarta that I imported from Poland, from Emil Composites Lab. It is fantastic stuff. It's worth shipping from Poland. It's a little bit expensive shipping from Poland. So those will go up at some point. Papa Bear Knives says that he's a full flat guy. I'm a full flat guy as well. And there's this big debate on the difference between full flat grind and saber grind, especially when it comes to batoning. And the idea that a full flat grind causes more friction, I think, I don't think it's true at all. I'll do a video on it at some point. I have a bunch of videos that I need to do with a whiteboard out in the woods. I need to get myself a proper whiteboard. I've been saying that for a couple years now. I will do it because we're going to get into some Rista stuff, some reconnaissance, some reconnoitering here shortly. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Fines, on your first battle rifle. That is a life-altering. That's a life accomplishment. Seriously, it's a big deal. Get that ammo together and try and go get some training. And as a perfect segue to the most important topic of this video, training. I'm going to be doing a training class with Justin Vidito of Bear Mountain Survival. And if I just butchered his name, it's probably going to be okay, because since I already showed a gun in this video, it's going to disappear, so nobody will have proof that I'm an idiot from that. Currently the plan, this is going to be Justin's class that I will be hosting here in Kentucky. Currently the plan is a small group training without a firearm, movement techniques, camouflage, security, and scanning. Everybody's really excited to learn how to John Wick crap. But if you don't know how to do everything else, it's not going to do you any good. The most important thing you can learn to do is how to move without being seen, how to see without being seen and take notes, gather intelligence, and how to be shot at without dying. Those are more important, I promise. And they are vastly under-trained. So that's something that I talked to Justin about focusing on. If you don't know Justin Vidito, he was on season 2 of Alone. Awesome survival guy, army, sniper dude, does all of the cool things, and very knowledgeable, very down-to-earth, and he wants to help people. And so when you get a class from him, you're going to get your money's worth. Now, for everybody here who wants to train and has not yet, you need to understand that the standard for training is $250 a day. just doesn't really matter what you're doing. It sounds like a lot of money, but to be profitable doing training, $250 a day is the standard. This class will come in below that. But I would say that if you are a Patriot Minuteman, the first class that you should take, in my opinion, is Immediate Action Medical at Tactical Response. You're already probably carrying a gun, preparing to put holes in things. But if you're preparing to put holes in things, it's a very high likelihood that you'll need to prepare to plug holes as well. Immediate Action Medical is very TCCC based, but it is so far superior to the training that I received in the military that the only thing that they have in common is the curriculum itself. Next, basic pistol handling from a holster, from concealment. Basic rifle use, you should have an idea on those. And then the next thing, in my opinion, would be a class like this. Learn how to move as a team, learn how to move as an individual, learn how to not be seen, learn how to see and take notes, and learn how to break contact. So it's going to be a unique deal. All right, I've got some things here. Combat arts training. So my adventure craft and my adventure craft features a full flat grind. That means from the edge to the spine is one flat, consistent bevel. I hope you can see what I'm talking about there. As something that's different to that is these are full flat as well. Again, this is the jackalope full flat grind, consistent grind from top to bottom. The mutant is a saber grind. Hopefully we'll have those this year. That will be the one knife to rule them all. If a person had to pick only one, I am very confident in that. Mr. Fines, asked how many rounds of ammo per day. Depends on the class. A battle rifle class, it's usually going to be a fairly low round count. By the way, in the comment section here, we have combat art training. If you're, first off, if you're willing to travel. Second off, if you're already in Florida, hit him up like right here and right now. Go get your training on. Dex, stop being an idiot. Stop it. But it varies greatly. I think that in the first day of fighting pistol tactical response, I think you go through like 600 rounds, 9mm. I don't remember how many rounds I went through in tactical response at fighting rifle in 2 days. But if I had to guesstimate, I would say around 800. This is off the top of my head, so don't be mad if I'm getting my numbers wrong, but a lot of classes you can get through with a few hundred rounds. This class with Justin will be no firearms because that's not going to be the focus of the class. The focus of the class is going to be up here and the full body. And it will be an overnight class. There will be a packing list. People will have to pack food, water, and be able to walk a few miles. It shouldn't be super rigorous, but yeah, the fight. Brandon Davis mentioned the fight. The fight is a huge mindset thing. It's a huge, huge game changer. And I was recommending classes for the Minuteman, but classes for just the individual who takes responsibility for themselves in an everyday life, my class order would be a little different. You don't really need to know recon. You need to know how to keep yourself alive. And that is immediate action, medical, fighting pistol, the fight. And they sell those 3 classes together at Tactical Response, and you get a discount, and you can knock them all out at a time. It is the best deal in training. Bottom line. Okay. So Papa Bear Knives says that he prefers full flat. And he said, like I said, the Scandi isn't very strong at the edge unless you have a micro bevel. One of the things, there's been a lot of things over the years that pissed me off about Tops knives, but one of them was when I purchased my MSK when it first came out. It was advertised repeatedly as a true Scandi grind. I didn't know a lot about knives at the time. It certainly was not a true Scandi grind. And since it was advertised repeatedly as a true Scandi grind, I kept looking up how to sharpen a true Scandi grind. And as you might guess, realizing there was a micro bevel took me a little while and led to a lot of heartache as a new knife guy, or newer at least. So if you put a micro bevel on a Scandi grind, it's not a Scandi grind anymore. It's just a low Saber grind, which sucks. What's up, Jeremy Bryant? What's the easiest grind for sharpening a knife? So there isn't necessarily an easiest grind for sharpening a knife. Basically, you have two types of edges when you're sharpening a knife. A zero grind, which could be considered a Scandi, and is most commonly a Scandi. However, you could have a full flat grind that's zero ground, and I would not consider that Scandi. Or you have a micro bevel, which can be hollow ground, full flat ground, or Saber ground. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to how thick the knife is behind the edge, whether or not it has a micro bevel, what type of steel it's made of, and what the hardness is. And there's a ton of variables. So I wouldn't say there's any grind that is necessarily easier or harder. Combat art training corrected me. Fighting rifle is supposed to be 1,500 rounds. Combat art training. Do you have a battle rifle or intermediate distance rifle class? I am interested. First week of March. Yes, actually, I didn't schedule that class yet. I forgot. I plan on being there. I need to freaking get on the ball with that. First week of March, I do plan on being at Technical Response. Sear is not a verb. It is a acronym. Survive, evade, recon, survive, escape, evade. Do I not even know at this point? Survive, escape, whatever. It's one of those military terms. That's all of those things. And there is convex to a zero as well. I hate convex primary grinds. And I don't like them any better when they're a 0 degree convex grind. I need to do a video specifically on the hype of convex grinds. And I'm not talking about the micro bevel, but there's some hype behind convexing a micro bevel too. There's a lot of good reasons to convex your edge, but lost in marketing is a bunch of BS. People are like, they take the shoulder off of their edge and they're like, I convexed my edge, that made it stronger. No, that definitely made it weaker. You thinned your edge, you took off material, it now slices better, but unless you only took off the very, very edge, then you weakened your knife. And if you only took off that very, very shoulder, then you probably, you might have kept the strength the same and improved sharp cutting, but you certainly didn't make it stronger. People don't understand like geometry, and like I said, I'm gonna have to do a whole video on convex edges because they're so annoying. Survive, escape, rescue, evasion. It's rescue? I thought it was recon. Shows what the crap I know. Let's see here. GOP cannot be trusted. They'd rather pander to get votes from our invaders. Trey, I would like to agree with you, but I don't. I totally actually disagree. They're not pandering to get votes from our invaders. They are one and the same. They were pandering to us to make us think that they were conservative to get our votes to put forward the exact same agenda. And look at all of the crazy gun control over the years and all of the stuff. It's almost all of it's done under Republicans, almost all of it with NRA backing. It's just manipulation and psyops to make us think that that something different is going on. But at the end of the day, when you look at the scale of things, even spending, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't freaking matter. What matters is whether or not you still believe it all, because so long as you believe it all, they have the power to continue doing it. And as long as we stay inside the kill box, they win. The only way out of the kill box is to think out of the kill box, and it's a lot harder to do that. A marksman combat art training. We'll get some steel targets and then have a marksman class out to 400 yards. I will need to be all up in that. Mr. Fines asks, what grind do you prefer? Generally speaking, I prefer a full flat grind. Now, whether it's a flat grind or a saber grind, to me, a high saber grind doesn't actually matter that much as long as the edge thickness is the same. So people get all up in arms about their favorite grinds. It doesn't matter that much, because imagine you have a full flat grind that is this tall. This tall. Well, what if your blade height is this tall, your grind is the same height, your edge thickness is the same height as that full flat, but you have an extra little bit on top that makes it a saber? It's still going to cut the same, right? So, but people would still fight over like which one cuts better. They're going to be exactly the same because their primary grind geometry is identical. Their edge thickness is identical. The micro bevel is identical. It's going to cut the same amount of friction, everything else. So, I like full flat grind, but at the end of the day, it's either good edge geometry or it's not. I haven't even talked about Ted Cruz yet from today. I actually even recorded it. I'll segue into it here in just a second, I think. So Brandon Davis, I had a choosing your first survival knife video. I was going to make that a series. I still need to do that, and I will get to that. And I need to break everything down so that it's easy for anyone to understand, because 99% of what you're going to get out there about knives is just crap. So what did he do? Axis of energy. Today is January the 6th. Ted Cruz made a speech about the January 6th Capitol tour and called it a riot perpetrated by terrorists. And then he used a lot of a lot of absolute statements. And this is where all of the psyops from the last couple of years come to play, because we know that most of these police brutality things that have been playing on the news are crap. The real police brutality you're never going to hear about. The stuff they're playing on the news, they're manipulating the simple folk. So what they're doing is they are having Republicans support a stance that all cops, anybody who attacks a cop or a law enforcement officer, should be severely punished regardless of the situation. And Ted Cruz even said all violence should be prosecuted. Well, self-defense is violence, right? But the Conservative Party has been swayed into this strong pro-cop stance that has been fueled by the liberal left's strong anti-cop stance. And so, like usual, the reality is in between. But Ted Cruz has talked about the Second Amendment and its purpose for being to keep the government in check in the past. So if he actually believed that, he can't talk about, speak in absolutes about our absolute need to never use force against the government. You see the last couple of years psyops neatly packaged up in a present with a little bow on top. And if Ted Cruz was honest to his advertising, which of course he's not, he would be the last person to do that crap. And, you know, Ted Cruz is too educated to be out here giving absolutes. He's not going to accidentally just throw out a bunch of absolutes offhandedly. This is a pre-scripted response, a big thank you thing. And on the surface, it sounds fine, like they always do. But if you've been paying attention, a bunch of little red flags should have been popping up. I'll do a video on it. It's a bad deal. And Ted Cruz is the only politician who I've ever personally donated to. Pretty embarrassing. And he knows how to talk a good game, just like Dan Crenshaw, that other commie in Texas. None of them are your friends, guys. Jeremy Bryant said Trump accomplished more gun control than Obama or Biden. Yeah, he also accomplished the framework for our current COVID situation, which would not have worked under Hillary Clinton. He also put us more in debt in like 1 year than Obama did in 8 years. He also enacted all kinds of socialist stuff. Patriot Act #2. All they had to do to get one of the authors of the Patriot Act, Kavanaugh, into the Supreme Court was tell you that some some stupid liberals made up a story about him sexually assaulting them, and you all ran to his defense instead of being like, wait a second, this guy's a dirtbag and we should be the ones against him. It's a game. It's a freaking game. There's no such thing. Yeah, Trump had better flavoring. Stop it, Dax. What in tarnation? Trump had better flavoring than anybody else. Sure. But, you sprinkle red, white, and blue on a turd, and it's still a turd. We're still getting screwed. And the better one of these politicians brand themselves and the more likable they are to us, the more they're able to screw us, which is why Trump was able to accomplish so much. What's up, Brad Rad? So, yeah, someone said it sounds like we're turning into a police state. We've already been there. Crux173 says, what kind of knife do you use for cutting the deer trachea? I feel like since I can't see with my hands full of blood and guts, I would need a small hook type of knife that could guide with my pointer finger. I am not the expert to ask about that. However, the last deer I gutted was with a Kershaw Diskin Hunter. Fantastic knife. Not the best for being up in the cavity, especially if it's dark like you're talking about, because it is kind of long and very pointy. My recommendation would be the Skinner from Bear Forest Knives. Your finger perfectly indexes. The shape of the spine looks weird, but you run your finger up along it. It makes perfect sense. It perfectly indexes with your finger, so that you know right where your edge is at and everything. I actually cut myself a little bit, just one little cut when I was doing that deer. But there are a lot of people who can give you much more, much better information than me, because I've only really worked on just 2 deer. Just 2. Not an avid hunter like I would like to think of myself as. Ted Cruz just apologized on Tucker Carlson. No. Heck it. So, Crux173, Rick C. responded to your question, and he is the man to ask. Way more experienced than me. Okay, so Christian Constitutionalist said that Ted Cruz just apologized to us for using the word terrorist on Tucker Carlson. You'll notice that that was the wrong verbiage to use. However, it's not the worst thing that he said. He just apologized for the thing that jumped out at a lot of people, and that apology is going to cover up the true meaning of what he said and what he supports, and he'll get away scot-free because people can't pay attention long enough. The issue is what he talked about with the use of violence or force, and with the treatment of anybody who stands against a law enforcement officer. Master Blaster says there are no politician saviors. That is absolutely correct, and that is why a lot of these people, every election, someone is branding themselves as a political savior. The Democrat is going to save all of the Democrats from the last reign of the last Republican. The Republican is going to save us from the last reign of the Democrats, and it's all crap. So So what do? Start thinking outside of the box. Think for yourself. Take ownership of yourself. And when you choose what degree you are going to be part of the system, it will be because you chose it. And when you choose what degree you refuse to be part of the system, it will be with the foreknowledge of what the system is. Dan Crenshaw is more than iffy. Dan Crenshaw is a literal freaking wolf in sheep's clothing communist. And every veteran who took an oath to defend the Constitution against domestic enemies should be knocking on Dan Crenshaw's door. Yeah, Trump is pushing Big Pharma. Absolutely. Stop it, Dax. Go away. Do I like DeSantis from Florida? Do I like him? Do I like what I see from him? Yes. Do I believe that it's a freaking puppet show? Also, yes. Do I believe that he is making a name for himself for a presidential bid or vice presidential bid? Yes. Do I believe that he'll jump right on board to screwing us? Yes, again. Raven said DeSantis trampled free speech and indirectly supports red flag laws. All of them are the same. Josh Galt, you're correct. Luke B says the powers that be want to make American patriots the enemy, period. So this is what it's going to come down to, because American patriots have been bred to view their freedom as being tied to America, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, which will make them the perfect bad guy for that very country, for that very body. When you pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, you are pledging allegiance to the government, not to the nation, not to the Constitution, not to the Bill of Rights. And it is time for the American patriot and the nationalist to separate themselves from an allegiance to anything but God and themselves, their family, and their fellow people. Luke B said the best thing that could happen would be a mass natural disaster. It would just be used. It would just be used. Raven, yes, today was a snow day for me. We got like 5+ inches. Combat art training. Do you like AK bayonets as utility blades? Absolutely not. Terrible steel, terrible edge geometry. They could work, and they could be made to work. A lot of better options out there. Crux173 said, why do you say that about Dan? Dan constantly supports red flag laws and recently has constantly been supporting the Democrat Party. he talks a big game talking about socialists, knowing that the average person can't define what a socialist is. Just red, white, and blue sprinkles on a doggone hammer and sickle. Combat Art Training said, I'm starting to come around to the idea of states leaving the Union, but of course, the same tyranny can still happen once they do. I'm starting to come around to the idea of micro communities operating off grid anywhere with enough men to protect the community's sovereignty. Period. And I think anything above that at this point in time on this planet, this globalist planet, Jessup dude, General Flynn is probably going to try running in 24. Anybody who pushed the Q bull crap can't be trusted. That should have been a brutally obvious psyop. Just after the first 2 failures early into it, should have been brutally obvious. Bruce, how many men would that take? Speaking of my micro community, more than you would ever get. I don't know if I'm a realist or a pessimist. How many men would it take to defend a community's sovereignty? So I guess we would be talking about an extended village. I would say, as long as you didn't attract too much attention to yourself against local governments, cartels, or what have you, that you would need 100 fighting men. And 100 fighting men means a population of 3,000 to 4,000. JQ says men is almost irrelevant nowadays with such advanced technology. Depends on a lot of variables. Men will never be irrelevant on the battlefield. Unspecified podcast and review. We will have to rely on the Father. If you didn't make that time short, no flesh would be safe. That's right. Liechtenstein is very interesting. I got to spend a little bit of time in Liechtenstein and really enjoyed it. Luxembourg and Liechtenstein, the whole region really. But I think that's a lot larger than a micro community. But what you have, in my mind, Liechtenstein is a lot like Singapore. You have an incredibly, or on a larger scale, Switzerland. You have a massive totalitarian state that is wealthy enough that it can afford to have an amazing culture and lifestyle despite its totalitarianism. However, every single person has to stay in line. Ain't gonna work. You know that since I believe it was a crash at Le Mans, maybe in the 30s or 40s, all racing has been illegal in Switzerland? how do you do that? I loved Switzerland, by the way. Freaking loved Switzerland. So Joe Klein said the 1776 revolution had external support that was vital for the success of the rebellion. I talk about that quite a bit in my second Civil War You Will Lose video, because people don't realize that every resistance, guerrilla resistance that's ever been successful that everybody talks about, was made possible through incredibly powerful outside support, be it the American Revolution, be it Vietnam, be it Afghanistan, whatever the case may be. They were all made possible through external influence, and what we are fed about them is basically just crap. You see, they need a good enemy to unite the people together, and a bunch of artards who think that they're going to come together and say, welcome to the rice paddies in America, make a very good target. And those are, for the most part, the people that I would agree with, and normally be lumped in with. However, they're misled, they're uneducated, they're living in fantasy. Bring that here, Dax. And they're being used. Come here. Because it's just another psyop. No, come here. Come here. That's a glove. That's not your toy. You get your toy. Crux 173. Standing up for a fellow soldier war hero that has the balls to actually get in government. No. If you are a veteran and you took an oath to defend the Constitution against domestic enemies, then Crenshaw is not a fellow veteran. If you don't support the Bill of Rights and you don't honor your oath of service, you have no honor. Because that is where the honor in service comes from. There is no honor in just being another soldier fighting for your country, because you're just fighting for the exact same thing as the people on the other side of the line. All you are is a bunch of pawns. The American soldier's honor comes from the oath. It comes from following something higher than government. It comes from something that the government is a direct enemy to. Dan Crenshaw is a part of that. Alpha Omega, reasonably priced, high-value plate carrier. I need to start testing the AR-500 stuff. I'm not a plate carrier expert. I don't like plate carriers. I don't like armor. I didn't like wearing armor in Afghanistan. I don't like armor. Now, my idea of warfare is mobile, and I don't feel like I can be a asset after a long movement on foot with all this freaking extra weight. And I have a Freeman plate carrier, armor has its place, but as for what is actually high value, what is actually necessary, what is actually dollar for dollar the meta, I'm absolutely not the expert. So, my experience with armor does not go any further than military issue ceramic plates and the Freeman plate carrier that I have. I have not been shot. I have friends that have been shot, but they weren't shot in the armor. So, um, you know, I think for what I view as a potential mission being dismounted with long movements, um, lighter and smaller is better. And however, if and the CQB thing, all this John Wick stuff, it's fantasy. Like if I've got to go bust down the doors of a house to say save my children, freaking armor me up, dude. Give me 150 pounds. I don't care because I'm gonna get shot repeatedly. Um, but that's a situation that I would rather not get into at all. It's a losing situation, even if you do have that 150 pounds of armor. The person going into the house is at a severe disadvantage. So a lot of it is mindset, skill, mindset, tactics. I can't think right now, but gear's at the bottom of the list. Terrence Pop. I have not heard of him. Crux173. Some real stuff on him. About every 6 months, Dan Crenshaw just takes a dump. He was just applauded like weeks ago for supporting some Democrat anti-gun bill. The more you like somebody, the more dangerous they are. I mean, Trump talks about universal health care and freaking gun control in his book, and nobody seemed to care. You know, he didn't just vote for red flag laws, he voted for red flag laws multiple times. And there's no such thing as making sure that red flag laws aren't out of control. There is no such. Believe in any level of red flag laws, then you do not believe in human rights. Period. Everybody has allowed themselves to slip into a mentality of rights as privileges because it makes it easier for them to accept their slavery. Your government does not support your rights. If you do not support your rights or anybody else's rights, then you are an enabler. Just like the doggone freaking Nazis. The Jewish Nazis turning in other Jews. That's what we're looking at here. Um, oh, it's only if a family member calls you in, that the police can come kick your door down and take your guns without any legal due process. It's only every single dirtbag law starts with "it's only." And guess what? It's a whole lot easier to get it started when the puppet that you put up there trying to start it happens to be a combat veteran war hero. All right, guys. Before I get going, let me just say, should you be surprised that Glock in Georgia is requiring their employees to get the shot? No. You probably shouldn't be surprised. Should you be surprised that any of these corporations are in bed with the NWO agenda? No, you should not. If Palmetto State Armory came out and said, we support Dan Crenshaw, would I be, would it be a gain? Would it change my worldview? No. However, one of the reasons I like PSA so much is their mission objective to make gun control impossible by flooding the market. And I keep testing PSA products and I keep being impressed. And they're not hand picking stuff for me, good stuff, because I'm just buying it. And, I talked about the PSA dagger and I complained about the roll pins. Did they like that I did that? Probably not. I don't like roll pins. I love that freaking pistol though. So, guys, support good people and good companies. All right, Benchmade is the enemy. Springfield Armory, Rock River Arms. Screw these freaking people. Colt, now that they're owned by CZ, don't be surprised. They'll go the same direction. But support good people. Freaking Midwest Industries. In my opinion, absolutely PSA. AR-500, seriously. Hogue knives, SE knives. Who else is on my freaking awesome list? Freaking Tactical Response, Combat Art Training. Old Ironson just had to run across the street because the 75-year-old son fell out of bed and couldn't get off the floor. He's way too huge for his dad to move and he can't move himself. Takeaway, don't let yourself go. Guys, a huge part of this is physical, right? So I'm not in the kind of shape that I should be in. I'm not in fighting shape. And I'm recovering from this broken leg and I just tore my bicep. Something for me, but I'm at least always trying. You can't let yourself be obese if you are an otherwise able-bodied male. You are not taking responsibility for your well-being or the well-being of your family. You are not taking responsibility for your self-ownership. If you fall out of bed and you can't get up and your family can't move you, you need to make some lifestyle changes. Exotech, love it. Hogue knives and Hogue grips, same company, fantastic. Yeah, I agree about Jaeger. All I can hope is that he just keeps banging. Sticks and stones, I've always appreciated having you. Well, guys, we'll wrap it up. It's gotten late. Hoping to spend some time with the wife while we got snow. I have some products to ship. Hops number 9, your sling will be going out soon. Would have gone out today, as you know, it's done, but I didn't ship today, and I won't be shipping tomorrow. Snow's on the ground, and it's a fairly rare event, and I'm going to spend it with the family. And tomorrow I'm going to do a lot of YouTube videos in the snow. It's going to be a very busy day, but stuff will be going out. The sling back order is almost zero at this point. It's a new year, guys. Recommit. Follow people who inspire you. Do those things that you've been putting off. Get that bug out bag packed, get it in your car, have it ready for the season, have your mags loaded, have them in a container by the door where you can easily grab them and move them, have your kit ready to go as well, have your guns loaded, have them positioned around the house where you may need them. Go hike, go ruck march, go get training, watch what you eat, watch your caloric intake, try to get stronger, try to improve your endurance, take responsibility for yourself, and work to become more independent every day. None of us can be truly independent. But take ownership for yourself, and if taking ownership for yourself means you have to change your whole life, then do it. You'd be better off living in a matchbox house with 500 square feet and sticking to your guns than getting the COVID vaccine that you oppose to keep your creature comforts that you think that you need. You don't need them. If you don't care about the COVID vaccine, then that's a different story. But stick to your doggone guns. Be a freaking human of principle and of moral value. And if you are not a person of a moral value, you are not a person of any value. I hope that you all have a blessed night, and I will talk to you all shortly. And Jeremy Bryant, shoot me an email at the Preppers Bunker Outdoors, and I'll talk to you soon. Guys, feel free. You can email me or you can comment in videos, requests for what I talk about in live videos. I should do live videos more often, and I will be willing to. So let me know, and we'll get her done. Have a blessed evening, and I'll talk to you soon.